One argument I've heard from someone who believes in God and an afterlife is that, quote, energy can never be destroyed. I assume what is meant by this is that consciousness survives the body, as a soul, perhaps. I think this is nonsense, but I don't really have a good enough comeback for it. What would your response be? Well, it's not a matter of energy so much as it is information and organization when you're talking about minds and even living systems. The difference between a living system and a dead one is not merely a difference in matter or energy. When you die, you don't suddenly become physically lighter. Actually, when your body begins to cool, you have to become a little lighter because you're losing kinetic energy, but I doubt the effect is measurable. There was actually a doctor at the beginning of the 20th century, I think named Duncan McDougall, who assumed that the soul must have mass, and therefore he weighed people at the moment of death, and he claimed to have found that the weight of the human body diminished by something on the order of 21 grams. And I think he also did experiments in dogs and found that there was no weight difference. And this confirmed the thesis that unlike human beings, dogs have no souls, right? Well, obviously, there's no reason to believe any of this is true, but you can sympathize with the good doctor's thinking there. It's really not a question of matter or energy going somewhere else. Nobody thinks that heat energy is the basis of your conscious life. In fact, you're losing heat every moment now. You're just producing more of it. It's not like your mind has migrated out into the environment because some of the molecular energy in your body has. So whatever consciousness is, whatever its relationship is to the brain, if it is the product of what the brain is doing, it is the product of the organized information processing in the brain. And once that ceases to be organized, once those processes stop, once neurons are no longer firing, once their connections begin to break down, it's not a matter of so much of matter and energy being lost, it's a matter of activity ceasing. Where does a song go when you stop singing? Where does a dance go when you stop dancing? Do they still exist in some way? The distinction between having a mind and not having one, or being alive and being dead, is more like that. It's more like a verb than a noun. Living bodies do things that dead bodies don't. And when they stop doing those things, they're dead. Systems that process information and could be the basis of minds are doing things that disorganized systems don't. And when they become disorganized, they cease to do those things. So this is a bad analogy, this idea that the conscious mind is energy and energy can't be destroyed. Energy can be converted into forms that are no longer useful, where it can no longer do work, where it contains no more information. This is entropy. And we are fighting entropy every moment of our lives. And when we die, entropy wins. If you think in terms of process, it's a little easier to see that processes can become disordered and disrupted, right? And finally cease. So this is not where I would put my hopes for immortality.